Peace, love, knowledge, and freedom, and welcome to another exciting episode of Frail Conversations. And as you've seen from the title, we're going to be talking about resources. And before I get started, before I get heavy into this, let me first apologize and thank y'all for y'all patience. This episode was supposed to drop on Saturday, as you know, since Frail Conversations. It's only dropping on Wednesday because I'm giving y'all a back-to-back. So I'm dropping this one first, and later on in the day, y'all going to get the second one, right? But it all ties in. You feel what I'm saying? So the reason why I didn't have the episode prepared and drop because all last week, even I was even slacking on E-Week, man. I was just all out. But it wasn't that I was ignoring anybody or anything like that, but I was locked in because I was learning something, right? And what I was learning was myself. I know, seeing all this time and talk. Yeah, I know. Yourself is going to continually learn and grow. And sometimes you can be so locked into something that you can't see certain things. And so I got a glimpse to understanding like the resources that I have. And this is how it came about because as you know, here's another tidbit too. A lot of things are going to be changing in the podcast for seasons 11 and 12, but they're going to start in season 10 at the end of season 10. Like if you hear my ads, you're used to hearing my ads, you probably, you know the website by now. You probably type, all you hear is get into the markets. You feel what I'm saying? And then things are going to change with that because tying it into last week, what I was doing, I was once setting up my studio, getting my music, everything back in order, setting up my soundboards, getting all of this shit done. Like, so I can just like, when it's time for me to record. Y'all probably heard one of my most recent jam sessions. That is like the first track that I've ever, like in the last 10 years that I produced, mixed, mastered, and done everything to and sat with. And, just getting the rust off. So I know y'all like, what the fuck this got to do with anything? It got everything to do with it because I was sitting down contemplating. I was like, bam, as I'm working on my music, I'm now segueing into my music, like, you know what I'm saying, getting copyright, my music copyrighted, um, getting my music copyrighted, getting it distributed to, Apple Music, Spotify, everything. So as I'm doing this, right, as I'm building it up, it hit me. Like whenever I'm recording my podcast, because the platform that I used to use, what platform that I use, Anchor, they changed to Spotify by Podcaster, Podcaster by Spotify, some shit like that. So Spotify bought the motherfuckers, right? So as I'm recording, I will always see this little Spotify tab, but I don't listen to Spotify. I use Tidal. I don't fuck with Spotify. I used to back in college, but I just stopped fucking with Spotify. Never really got to it, so I never really thought to pay attention to it, right? So as I'm looking, I decided to click the little Spotify tab, right? So as I click the Spotify tab, the motherfuckers say import music from Spotify, and I'm like, huh, and it fell right in alignment, right? So I'm like, it made me realize and in this moment as I was looking at it, I just said, I said to myself, I got a lot of resources. And then I stopped and was like, huh. And again, this ties into a soul-frail conversation because your resources are going to they're going to come from how you analyze and deconstruct the world. Masculinity, spiritual, mental, and physical embodiment, the essence of analysis and deconstruction. One thing that I like to, well, I ain't gonna say I like to pride myself on or, brag about, but it's obvious is that, I use masculinity in every facet of my life. So there's not a question about how masculine or how, what the thought is. But I realize the purpose of masculinity is to gain resources. We spend so much time trying to be rich. We spend so much time doing things that are counterproductive because we're trying to chase the money rather than taking in the resource, you know what I'm saying, or building or finding the resources that make money. We go to be an asset to a money maker as opposed to finding resources that make money. And it's largely due to the fact that we focus more on synthesis and construction because of, how So Frail 2 broke down where we are in the world. But more so, because we don't equate the fact that accumulating resources where the real wealth is at. It's not in the actual dollar itself. It's in the resource to make the money come. You feel what I'm saying? And that's what we're going to be talking about today. So before we dive into that, be sure to follow me on Instagram, _just_seen_. Be sure to check out my website at IamJustSeen.com to get all things that are just seen. To all those who tip, donate, and sponsor to the podcast, you are greatly appreciated. To all those who would like to tip, donate, and sponsor to the podcast, you can do so by clicking the link in the description of the podcast. Not the episode, but the podcast itself. And as always, Cash App and PayPal are just Fine. And you know the vibes. That's that for this and that's this for that. So we're gonna take a quick break. When we come back, we're gonna dive into So Frail Conversations resources. And don't forget to visit IamJustSeen.com. There, you can get all things Just Seen. You want to add the So Frail series to your library? Visit IamJustSeen.com. You want to learn how to master the markets for serious trading and investing? Visit IamJustSeen.com. You want to get your hands on some exclusive merch like tees, hoodies, coffee mugs, hats, bags? Visit IamJustSeen.com. Are you thinking about transitioning into the plant-based lifestyle? Visit IamJustSeen.com. You ever want to just chat with Scene about anything from simple advice to mentorship? Visit IamJustSeen.com. Anything and everything that is me, you can find at IamJustSeen.com. So take a quick peek into my world to see why being just seen is nothing less but always more. Because you never really know what you need until you see it, and you will never see it unless you visit IamJustSeen.com. All right, all right, all right. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. And this episode, it largely can be equated to an entrepreneur's episode, but I'm not going to make it an entrepreneur's episode because it's more so focused on masculinity. So the sisters sneaking and listening, you can get the gems entrepreneur side when I break it down. But for the most part, it's going to be limited and it's going to be centered around masculinity and us as Black men. So first, we need to break down a word resource, right? And sometimes we look at our resources as, because we hear about the human resource and we look at the resources are the things we have, right? The things we have. And when you actually just etymologically break down the word, means again, source means the origin. So when you have resources, that means you bring back the origin of something. You feel what I'm saying? Walk with me for a second. Our resources are the origins that we return to in regards to a certain thing, right? And now when we look at the bigger scale of all of that shit, right? Your resources, being that it's something that you return to, it can be, it's something that you return to. It could be the origin of a cycle. It could be the origination of a creation. It can be the purpose of analysis and deconstruction is to get you down to the basic principle, which is the source. And then you resource it. You see what I mean? Now, when you take the things that you have and you realize what you have, now you can realize how to use them. Right? So tying it back to what I was speaking on in the intro, where I was saying, I was looking like, damn, I'm doing my own ads. I am doing my own ads in my podcast, which is phenomenal, by the way. This is dope. I like the fact that I can do that. You know what I'm saying? I could sponsor myself. It's so dope. But even deeper than that, it was like when I looked at each of these different quote unquote resources, what did I have to do to attain them? So our resources, let me say this, and this is how it ties to entrepreneurs, because our resources, in a sense, are, how do I want to word that? Drew a blank. You gonna give it to me or no? All right. So our resources, in a sense, are the tools that we have to supposedly move in the world, right? But the thing about, and how it ties to our entrepreneurial side is that we look at our resources we don't look at our resources as intellectual property. That's where I was at. I was drawing a blank on that. We don't look at our resources as intellectual property, right? And then on top of that, we think intellectual property, because it's tied to intellect, we think it's only supposed to stay in our mind. No, it's supposed to become a resource. Your intellectual property becomes your resources. And this is tying into the intro, because I was like, yo, I'm looking at it like music is my intellectual property, being able to produce it, being able to mix and everything. So, and again, in my transition, I don't know if y'all really noticed, like I'm done with everything else. I don't even have the interest for that other shit. And I low key feel like Kobe, like not in the sense of, just the greatness because I'm dope, but I feel like Kobe in the sense that after he left basketball, he said, I'm done. I did it all. There's nothing that I had to do left with basketball. And the reason why I'm saying that is because when people want me to talk about masculinity, I don't have the fire for it and never knew why. You know what I'm saying? I was like, I already did it. Like, not only do I live it, I already broke down everything about it. And that's that. You feel what I'm saying? There's nothing else for me to give to that. There's nothing else for me to give to So Frail. There's nothing else for me to give to Hitting It Raw. There's nothing else to give to Paula Cafe Clothing except extra designs when I get the drive. There's nothing left to give to the podcast. I still got a couple more episodes. But everything else and Hitting It Raw, I think I said that. And then there's got to be one more. EWE and Master the Market. There's nothing else I have to give them, like as far as building them to make them a resource. But a lot of people don't understand what I had to go through to make those a resource. Now, when we talk about, let's just look at So Frail, right? So Frail now has become a resource to me to where it can generate revenue for me. Of course, there's other now. It by itself can't generate any revenue. It just has the potential to generate the revenue. But I'm gonna take you through the whole cycle. I'm gonna show you the complexity of everything. But I'm using So Frail because that was like my first one, right? That was my first child conceived in a way. So and this is a resource too. I'm gonna show you also the leverage of using resources beyond their use. You feel what I'm saying? Like, and what I mean by that is low key, I don't have any kids yet, but being an entrepreneur made me a good father. And I'll tell you how as I break all this shit down. So it will prepare me to being a good father. You feel what I'm saying? In my thoroughness and shit. So as I'm building So Frail, right? Before it can become a resource, it originally had to be a source in my mind, right? Let's sit with that. The original source was back to when I was a kid. You feel me? I was never raised without a father. There was a whole void of my life that I never had. That I don't think people understand the severity of what it is. And this is why this is such an important resource to me. Like, I never had a father and I had to figure all of this out on my own. And I don't think a lot of people understand what figuring out really is. For some of us, because we caught up in the rat race, and we just stuck on the physical side or the carnal side, we think, you know, being a good man, being a man is, the physical side, protect and provide. I go to work, I get a good job, I don't cheat, I don't do all this shit, all of this simple shit, right? But what about the other three levels? You feel what I'm saying? What about the other three levels? Nobody looks at it like that. So when you're given something, right, and the source gives it to you, God, Allah, Jehovah, Krishna, Buddha, Jesus, whatever. It comes from the source. That's why it's a resource. Resource is a very underrated word, and I don't know why we don't pay it. We don't treat it the way it is. But you bring back the source. You bring back the origin of this particular creation. So with intellectual property, you are now bringing back the origin of something, and you have to repackage it a different way. You feel me? So I had that whole void. The whole left side of me was gone. You feel me? By proxy, I had to learn masculinity too because that was gone as well. The fact that my whole left side of me was gone, the whole right side of me was gone simply because of the left side being gone. Here's what I mean by that. With my father being gone, my mother had to step up and assume roles that she wasn't supposed to assume that made her feel a burden that she had to take away from us. You feel what I'm saying? So we inevitably ended up having to raise ourselves. You know what I'm saying? That's the common thing with most of our culture for that pocket of time. At the crack epidemic, you feel me? My mom and my pops were never on crack. Let me say that. Neither one of them was ever on crack. But I'm saying they birthed kids. They started birthing kids in the 80s, which was when my brother is 83, my sister's 85, and I'm 90. So we are a product of 90s of the crack epidemic in some way, shape, or form. You know what I'm saying? I remember Tyler Perry on one of his plays. He said, every black person got a cousin named Peaches and they know at least one crackhead. And then when you look at it from a bigger perspective, as far as culture goes, as far as history goes, it makes sense. Yeah, that's it. Okay, I got you. Right. So because my dad was gone, that made my mother be gone. So when I tell the story about like my dad's absence, my dad's direct absence made my mom indirectly absent. You feel what I'm saying? So again, these are voids that I had to fill. Masculinity and femininity. I didn't have either one of these. And these things were essences that I knew were deeper than just man and woman. And I had to go on a quest to figure them out. I had to go back to the source. Let me explain how deep this is. I had to go back to the source of masculinity to resource it to create So Frail. I'm gonna let y'all sit with that, see the magnitude of it. The reason why I'm saying that is because there's things that you have right now. So Frail right now is what it is, but it started off as an idea from the source, and I resourced it. You feel what I'm saying? It's masculinity. It's the spiritual, mental, and physical embodiment, the essence of analysis and deconstruction. Again, that definition came from the observation of seeing how the source played out in a masculine way. Everything associated with the source when it comes to masculinity is about analysis and deconstruction. That's something you can't refute. I've had over the last years, I had so many men read the book and say, I want to hold a mirror up to it. I want to talk to you about it. And never did because they couldn't. They fucking couldn't. That's the beauty. That's the craziest part about a resource. Like, This isn't something I poured out my ass. Like this is I went deep to the source and broke down the origins of it. And this is why it's tied to so frail conversation, because it's analysis and deconstruction. It's crazy how this paradox worked out. I use analysis and deconstruction to discover what analysis and deconstruction was, to define what analysis and deconstruction really is, without knowing what the fuck it was. It's crazy, right? It's a paradox. But this is how I chose to, it's not even how I chose to use the source. What I was deprived of, I needed. So I went to go find, and I went to find the source of it. I couldn't just look up to big homies because that wasn't enough. Big homies, they about 7, 8 years older than me. Not mentally though. Like I realized I couldn't listen to big homies when it got to a point. Again, this is why I have the 18 to 25 episode. Because when I realized that these niggas was my still trying to fuck with the women that I'm like, yo, what you mean? One of my big homies, I never forget it. Cause it was like, really? He was, we chilling and shit. He like, yo, man, he telling me about his young bitch and shit. Cause that's how you do. That's how we do when you in the game. Yeah, I got my young bitch. I got this, that, and the third. Cause I don't know why, but you feel the need to get a young bitch when you in your 20s, your upper 20s, cause you got she got to be at least 21 or some shit like that, or whatever. I don't know. Motherfuckers is weird, but we'll talk about it later. Another episode. But Shorty, so he telling me, yo, he got to go pick up his young bitch, or she got to go pick him up, or some shit. It's some weird shit like that, right? And then I happen to be with him when she come, and I'm like, this what you talking about? I'm like, yo, tell me you talking about her older sister or her mama or some shit like that. And it's like, he's like, nah, that's my young bitch. And she was trying so hard not to look at me, like with everything in her. And he, what I'm saying, trying to hug on her and shit like that. She being all awkward and shit. I ain't say shit. Right. No, I didn't fuck her. I could have, but I didn't. I'll tell you the story about it. So mind you, me and my big homie, we about 7 years apart. And me and Shorty, I think I was a senior, either a senior or a junior. I had to be a senior. I think, yeah, I was a senior then. Cause yeah, I was driving the blue neon and all the hoes wanted me then. So I was a senior, she was a sophomore. She was already too young for me as a sophomore. Well, not really, because I was 17, she was 15. But the point that I'm making with that is that the big homie was like, yo, this my young. So when I'm like, yo, she acting awkward. Like, he like, yo, why you acting funny like that? She like, nothing. She knew why. She knew why. Because she didn't know how tight me and him were. And it's like, wow. And then the type of big homie he is and the type of person I am, you would have never known that we were supposed to be crossing paths. Like, nigga, this really your big homie. Yeah, it's my big homie. This my big homie. And he fucking with somebody that I used to fuck with. You feel what I'm saying? Now, this is why I'm saying that. Because that wasn't enough for me when it came to masculinity. I clearly eclipsed that big homie. The fact that you're fucking with somebody. Now, mind you, when he was fucking with Shorty, she was 21 at the time. So that was, what, 6 years? So I was 23. Yeah. So I'm 23 years old. That means he's 30. You feel what I'm saying? And she's 21. That's a 9-year gap between them two. That's his young bitch. That's his little chick. She's legal, though. So I couldn't take advice from these motherfuckers as I'm trying to figure out masculinity. Y'all don't know. Because I knew that it's something bigger than that. I just knew it within me. I knew that there was a void that I had to fill that was something bigger than that. Right? So again, now, big home elders, uncles, fathers and shit. Nope. Same shit. Niggas can't teach me shit. I always tell the story. It's not a disrespectful thing because I had the utmost respect for my uncles, but there's no reason why every family function we get together, I should lead the conversations. I get it. I get why I lead the conversations because it's a bigger thing. Whether these motherfuckers in my family, whether the men in my family know it or not, I took the baton a long time ago. I am the elder. I am the leader of this. I'm the leader of 2 bloodlines right now. Nobody pays attention to it because I'm so quiet and reserved and I'm still actually doing it. I'm like, yo, y'all don't understand. I done shifted the whole bloodline. Whatever y'all niggas was doing before, we're not doing that anymore going in the future. Y'all just don't know it yet. Y'all just don't know it yet. Y'all haven't seen it yet. But this is what I'm saying. Whenever we get together, it's like they always, yo, nephew, you always teaching me some shit. How? What the fuck were you doing while I was growing? Like, you feel me? What were y'all doing? Then I got my religious side of the family. They were just going to church all the time. Then I got my gangster side of the family. Well, don't want to open up no cases with that. So, you feel what I'm saying? It's like, y'all niggas didn't have time to do the shit. But nobody had time to truly understand masculinity and to gain it as a resource. Because we didn't even have it as a source. It's not any funny shit. It's not any disrespectful shit. This is the culture right now. They shifted. Masculinity is gone for a reason. Because again, now when I know that it leads to analysis and deconstruction, what do I have? Resources, nigga. When I break down these principles, I get resources. And when I get these resources, I liberate myself, depending on how I can use these resources. But I got to know how to use them. They build the word off citizens construction because you can only see, okay, nigga, here's what's here. There's nothing else here. Build off of this. You ever wonder why, like, when this is why MLMs and shit work? Because nobody is trying to use the masculinity of masculinity. They're not, oh, wow. They're not trying to use masculinity when they're approaching business. They're using femininity when they're approaching a circumstance. So they're synthesizing and constructing something that's already built rather than analyzing and deconstructing it. I didn't realize that I was doing this until I was in the MLM, right? I was analyzing and deconstructing the whole time. That's why I ended up leaving. I said, I'm the smartest motherfucker in this room, and I'm not teaching or making 10,000 a month. Y'all got me fucked up. And I can't skip the line. I'm like, it's not like a job. It's not like school. It's not like real shit where when you are better, they just put you forward. You feel what I'm saying? Everywhere I've been, when I was the better person, when I was the more qualified person, I got moved up as it was supposed to. But then when I became the more better and the more qualified person, I had to earn my way up. It fucked with me. It fucked with me, but it taught me because I always approached the situation from analysis and deconstruction. I broke down a whole business model. I broke down the business model to see the principle of the science and the source of how it worked. This is one of the reasons why I always tell people, you can call it whatever you want. I don't actively go and duplicate another motherfucker's process. I talk about this in So Frail 3. There's a difference between the originator and the duplicator, right? The duplicator is largely built off femininity. The originator is built off of analysis and deconstruction because you have to resource some shit, right? So I didn't steal anything, but I broke down the model and I was like, y'all don't know that this is how it's built. Because when they would do the demo or whatever they did was called vertical marketing, they break this shit down. They didn't know how to make this shit a resource. They only know how to make it, I guess, an asset. I'll say that for lack of a better term right now. But they were accumulating these things as, oh, here's an asset, right? Think about assets. Assets are fleeting because when they know, what if an asset no longer has value anymore? Is it still an asset? When an asset no longer has value, does it become a liability? I know we talk about houses and we talk about cars and shit like that. Those are being liabilities and shit. Your car, as soon as you drive it off the lot, it appreciates 3,000. It's not going to do like the asset loses value. Like assets can lose value, so they can't be a resource. A resource is unchanging. Let me say that. A resource is unchanging. That's why it's principle based. It's unchanging. The asset can change. When don't nobody want to buy the asset, then what? It becomes a liability now. For example, VCRs at one point in time were assets. So much so, motherfuckers was making TVs with the VCR built in the bitch. Then CDs came out. And then movies, videos, VHSs, and VCRs, they started becoming a liability. You don't believe me? Blockbuster went bankrupt because of it. Where movies was once the asset. Movies were once the motherfucking asset that kept Blockbuster and Hollywood Video running. They're the same liability that brought them down. Tying it into the resource side, and it's why it sticks to entrepreneurship, because they didn't pivot, because they never had a resource, they had an asset. See, when you have a resource, you break it down to its finest mechanic and you change it with the times. You get what I mean? Bill Gates doesn't have an asset in Windows. He has a resource that he's convinced the world to need. That's it. When you understand this game, the corporation, the United States, the country, it don't fucking matter. Everything's built off business, right? Business is built off of the tiers of branding, marketing, advertising, the system. That's it. And the system, of course, is everything that you built. That's literally all they do. You have a system that you advertise, you market, and you brand. That's it. Then you get to a point to where the system is systemized, brands itself, because the branding is the highest point. The branding helps you with the marketing. The marketing helps the advertising work. The advertising functions and fuels the system. Simple. And the system, as we know, is the highest point of the momentum. And then from the momentum, from below the momentum, you have to get the rhythm. Before the rhythm, below the rhythm, you have to get the inertia. I'm sorry, I was excited. Before the rhythm, you have to get the inertia. And in the inertial phase is where you develop your resources. Sit with that for a second. I know a lot of people be like, motherfuckers be woke and shit. They just be talking shit. I can make every connection. I can make a connection to everything that I've ever told you because everything in my world is connected. I don't just learn information. I don't just accumulate it to drop knowledge and to spew it out. No, I make all of this shit. Everything in my head is a resource. You've only seen the resources that I've chosen to monetize. Everything I learn is a resource because I can do something. When I realized the potency of intellectual property, it just changed how it made me now want to accept being intelligent. I've always been that. I just kept it, you know what I'm saying? I used to want to be a hood nigga. I didn't want my hood niggas to know I was that smart. If you remember, there was a video that was going viral during the COVID and shit, when it first came out. And they were talking about it was some niggas on the blog and shit talking about COVID. He was like, yo, virus is not a virus because they're not in the same family or whatever. I was that. I was a smart nigga arguing with the hood niggas that didn't really know what they was talking about. Like, but I was with them. And we was all cool. Like, it won't know you smart and you disconnected from us, right? So this has always been there. But then when I realized, yo, I can live off this. All I have to do is take what I know and resource it. But then I have to know the origins of the source. That's where inertia is. A lot of people can't overcome inertia simply because they don't want to gain resources. They want to buy assets. I'm not mad at it. Stock market is the perfect example of the shit. They teach you, yeah, go buy this stock or whatever the case may be. I don't buy stocks. I don't invest. I do not invest. I trade. You feel me? Now, I do invest like a trader and I trade like an investor. I make that connection because, again, I got to the source of this shit. I got to the source of this shit. So when we look at the stock market, everything is an asset. And every asset is only an asset when it still has value. When the stock market starts to drop, it's no longer an asset anymore. Why are you buying it? It's now a liability. Literally, we watching the stock markets. The markets change between assets and liabilities, just like that. But motherfuckers don't see it because when you understand the resource, you understand the asset and the liability. And you can make it the asset and the liability when you choose to. You feel me? And it's not on anybody else's terms because you have the resource. If you look at where we are in the world today, when the stock market crashes, I just seen this post today and it said, it was a tweet. I don't know if the dude was serious or being sarcastic, but it's like, nigga, that's the game. He was like, it's almost like a certain elite keep their capital ready and just to buy up assets when the markets drop. They're making it happen. It's not this, there's no question for it. There's no question for it. That is the answer. That is the answer. They will not tell you that that's not the, like for them. It's like, hey, yo, we tell you, but we ain't gonna tell you. We'll tell you the stock market is going down. We don't tell you none of the how. Now, here's the levels behind it. Because you have some people that will look at the stock market and they only address it from the perspective of, you know, do your research 6 months fundamental analysis. I think that's what I call it. I look at it from technical analysis. Technical analysis can cut your fundamental analysis by 6 months. Not only can it cut the analysis by 6 months, it can cut the detail of the analysis. Me, I'm gonna keep it a whole hunt with you, and I hope y'all take heed to this information because the day that this drops, I do have a discount running, so you can use the code back to school 23, back the number 2 school 23, to join Master the Market 179. I'm gonna go ahead and plug that right now because what I'm about to say is a gem, right? When you understand technical analysis, all the fundamental shit that motherfuckers got to do when they looking at the stock, analyzing this, it's done for you. The larger players don't give a fuck about none of the analysis. They don't give a fuck about none of this shit. They're making it happen. When they say, I made enough money off of this, I'm going to sell it. The markets are going to drop. Now, because they do it in such a systematic fashion, it plays out in the stock market and you can read it in the charts. A lot of people scared to read the charts because they think, oh, I need 4 screens, I need 4 computers. Nope. Nope. I can do this shit from my phone. Iwi. I teach Iwi can do this from their phone. All you have to do is download the TradingView app. When you download the TradingView app, you just plot the charts. I teach you how to do all of that shit. But now, all of that shit condenses. So now, when people say, now, this is when the stock market is an asset, right? When you just know the stock market, you're doing your research for fundamental analysis or whatever the case may be. This is why people say, oh, it's the nature of the beast. You're going to lose too. Do you have to, though? If the people that created the game don't lose, then that means you can play the game and not lose. It's not hard. Not hard. I look at people who have losses in the stock market. I lose in it. I lose too. Don't get me wrong. I lose too. But one thing about the losses that I make, I knew the loss was going to happen. And I know, well seen. If you knew it was going to happen, how'd you still lose? Because I lost because it was a stop loss. I have a thing that I'm not going to set my stop losses above 20 pips. I don't give a fuck what the stock is. I don't give a fuck what the trade is. I have a certain stop loss that I'm not going to set. So when I lose, it's because it hit that stop loss. Does it go the other way? Yeah, but it hit my stop loss. So I know, why didn't you wait? Because in the markets, you don't have that extra data. You have to make your decision based off of everything. We making sound decisions about the future off of current data. We don't. This is why we don't have to go back 6 months. We stay in the market for 1 month and see what we pay attention to what's going on in the future, what the market is telling us is going to do. So many people focus more on what they did. And so that's where the markets become an asset to them, and it loses value the moment you don't understand what's going on in it. That asset becomes a liability when you don't know what's going on in it. This is why when I teach the shit, I teach it so that you know everything. Everything. You feel me? Iwi, the people in Iwi don't have to show up for the Iwi community. They do, you feel me, for things like the book club or the webinar. But outside of that, trading day, investing day, they don't be poking their heads in like that. They don't have to, because I'm not showing you what you need to be doing. I'm showing you what the world is going to be set for the next 24 hours. Everything else I've already shown you how to do. So this is when it becomes a resource. Because any one of my EWE students, now it's funny because my bro Pat, when I be talking to him about the markets and shit, it's funny because I'm gonna tell you why it's funny with him. Because it's like when he first got into EWE and shit, first he was like, bro, it can't be this easy. I said, you gonna see. You gonna see. He was like, man, I know that it. He said, yo, he said, I thought it was like, nah, bro, it's simple. Boom, boom, boom. So as he started doing it, the resource turned on. It was no longer asset where he was like, I just have to focus on stocks. The resource kicked in to where it's like, oh, I can do this in Forex. I can do this in stocks. Wow, but in stocks, can I just do options? Can I do futures? Can I do the stuff he be telling me to do? I ain't even gonna hold you, bro. This will probably be the first time. If he's listening to it, he'll probably hear this for the first time. I've never looked at the futures a day in my life. I've never looked at a futures contract, none of that shit a day in my life, right? But when he told me, yo, can I use this for futures? Yep. I told him confidently, yes, you can. And what did he do? He went to go do futures with it because it worked, because it's in the charts. Because again, I went to the source of this shit. I went to the source of the game, learned the rules, and then came back and told y'all how to play. That's the resource. Keep it in. We're gonna keep it as it's already been simple, I guess, but we're gonna keep it even simpler than that. Like the source is the game. The resource is learning the rules and playing the game. If you ever notice, like they don't give a fuck if you know how to play the game. Again, it goes back to rhythms. They only give a fuck when you can fuck up the game. That's where the whistleblowers come in. See, the whistleblowers, they get in and they know the rhythm, but where they fuck up at is they don't resource the shit. They try to be a martyr. No, guys, this is what the game is. Pew, 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 pew. He's down in history. We don't know shit about him no more. And the game keeps going. Now, when you have a motherfucker that says, hey, this is the game, y'all come play. Shh, don't say shit. Just play. And then you just keep growing. That's what it was supposed to be. That's what it is when you have a resource. That's what it is to analyze and deconstruct the world. You feel what I'm saying? I know I started with Frail. I moved to Master the Market. The point is I'm making brands, which are all resources. This is why I said this could have been entrepreneurs, but I feel it's more so tied to analysis and deconstruction because as men, that's what we're wired to. You feel what I'm saying? It's crazy because women need accolades, men don't. I'm gonna say that again because I know that just hit. I know that just hit a lot of us. Women need accolades, men don't. Accolades are cool. Accolades are cool for people who need validation. You only need validation when you don't have the resource. Like when you have the asset, you need the validation that it's still an asset. Otherwise, you know it's going to become a liability. But when you have the resource, you got the resource. Fuck you and that asset and liability. You feel what I'm saying? But now when we look at it on a bigger scale, when you're truly walking in your masculine, you do analysis of deconstruction, you don't give a fuck about the award. The accomplishment of fully having something like broken down. Some men, we have gotten so far from it, we don't realize how good we feel when we actually break some shit down and understand it, because society doesn't allow us to have that space. Society is going to make it seem as if, oh, you got to win. You got to win. Competitors, 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 competitors. When you have transcended competition and moved into collaboration, you realize that everything is one about analysis and deconstruction, but everything comes back to your resources. Kobe, is who I know the most when it comes to this shit, but Kobe was a resource in the game, but Kobe had broken basketball down to make basketball a resource. Even in his competition, he collaborated. I don't think people paid attention to that. That's why he was a champion. Champions are champions because they collaborate in competition. They're not competitors. If you listen to some of Kobe's interviews, Kobe even got a quote where he says, "The moment you decide you're competing, you lost." And then they asked Kobe, like, "Yo, but all right. When you're the greatest competitor, you no longer compete anymore. You now transition into collaboration." When I tell y'all, when I talk about masculinity, and I say I don't get into the conversations of masculinity, if you're not trying to collaborate with what we can do better with masculinity, I don't give a fuck about talking about it. Between Soul Frails 1 through 3, there's not a single thing about men in the world and masculinity that's not been covered yet that these motherfuckers can actually talk about. No funny shit. No funny shit. I was just talking to somebody and it was like, yo, bro, they sent me this thing. And it was like, it was a reel or whatever the case may be. And they was like, yo, bro, you touched on this in So Frail 1. I said, I know. Now, mind you, they sent me this about a couple months ago. So this is fairly new reel. Like, you feel me? Because, you can click the comments and see what day it was posted, whatever, when the comments, whatever. So it was a fairly new reel. I wrote So Frail in 2016. We're not the same. Respectfully, we're not the same. You still talking about the idea. I already went to the place. I already went to the source to figure out what the fuck it was. And now I resourced it to give it back to y'all so y'all can understand it. When I talk about that's another part about analysis of deconstruction that people don't like. A lot of the shit that I do, when I talk about inflate with inflation, the inflate with inflation community, what that built from and how everything went, like a lot of people don't know how the trenches I had to go through to make it that easy. A lot of people don't know the difficulty of life. And because they don't know the difficulty of life, because they don't know how to gain resources. The difficulty of life is supposed to give you resources. When shit is hard, it's supposed to be. You don't forget anything that's hard. It taxes your mental. It taxes your mental. So much so it sticks to your experience and it can't be taken away from you. One thing that I've learned, it's going to seem controversial, but you already know I'm a controversial motherfucker. The word narcissism and narcissists, they're not bad people. They're bad people in the world of competition because they're good. I let that dramatic pause sit because no matter how, now I don't mean good as moral. I mean, they're good. They're good competitors. For every narcissistic person that I've ever seen, for every person that's ever complained about a narcissistic person, when they talk about that person, they were a competitor. They were a competitor at heart. Now, the reason why it becomes narcissism, because when you're a competitor who can't win, you feel me? I knew a dude who used to say he was the best, like when he was in high school, he said he was the best basketball player on the team, but he stayed on the bench. Okay. He said, y'all kill anybody. So I do them all on a one-on-one. It's not a one-on-one game, homie. You feel me? You are the best competitor. Now, I can't even deny. If I seen him like on one-on-one, he cooked everybody on the team, but he stayed on the bench. Best competitor. Very narcissistic in behavior. The motherfucker thought he was the best. And he would prove it. He would do it. He would show it. You feel me? Narcissism is such a bad word in competition, but humble is such a good word in competition. You know these two words switch places when you come to collaboration? I ain't gonna hold you. I don't want to collaborate with anybody who's humble. Bitch, you insignificant. You didn't even do the due diligence for your shit. You relying on a blessing. You hoping that the missing pieces will be filled by an unseen source. After that unseen source gave you the whole blueprint of what you were supposed to do, and you chose not to resource it. You chose to try to build on what was already done. You feel me? Humble people don't work in collaboration. Humble people don't do not work well in collaboration. You know why? Because you have to have something. But again, tying it into the competitive side, motherfuckers couldn't even compete well enough. The men, we've gotten so far off in competition. The niggas say I can't compete with men. I gotta go compete with women. It's crazy. I can't beat men anymore. So I'm gonna be a woman. And I get it. A lot of people say, no, that's how they felt on the inside. That means they were losers, bro. I'm not saying feeling like a woman is a loser, but if you have to be, I'm not saying feeling like a woman on the inside is making you lose. They didn't feel like a woman on the inside. They were losers on the inside. And that's what they felt. And then they thought to win, why don't I just do this? Make people embrace it. You feel me? There's a science behind the shit. But again, competition. When you're in a world of competition, narcissism is what that is. Narcissism is the root of that. The narcissist is just a person who is a dominant competitor who doesn't win. Now, if you understand, if you read So Frail 3, you know that I was talking about the Tree of Life. And in the Tree of Life chapter, when we broke down, how when we broke down personal identity for one, right? If you put in the work to be great, why would you tell yourself you're not great? Only in the competitive world would you do that. In the collaborative world, you want people to know how good you are. So yeah, you can work. And then you also want to know how good everybody else is. In the competitive world, I always want the weaker person. In the collaborative world, I want the stronger motherfucker. Why? Why? Because I know now I can collaborate because I have resources. I don't have any resources when I'm competing. I have assets that I have to maintain. The narcissist is cool until the assets become liabilities. Like this is what I don't get. Like how people would say, the narcissistic relationship is bad. How do you end up in it? Men, women, children, cattle. I don't give a fuck. Breast, sis, all y'all. How do you end up in a narcissistic relationship? Now I get it. Well, hindsight is 2020. Well, why is your foresight off? Again, because it goes back into the analysis and deconstruction. You don't analyze and deconstruct enough shit. See, this is the cliche that people say to avoid the accountability. They be like, hindsight is 2020. Hindsight is 2020 to make your foresight 2020. Your life is built off frequency and decision making. That's it. The decisions you make is your frequency continually. That's what your life is. You feel what I'm saying? And if you don't think you got control over that, something's wrong with you. Something's really wrong with you. You feel what I'm saying? But then when you're not willing to actually break down the shit that makes your life work, you'll miss how your life works. So when people say hindsight is 2020, right? If you go back to some shit that you did, then it's like, yo, bam, you can predict the future because you now know your habits. But when you don't even know your habits, you just think this is some outworldly shit that didn't have nothing to do with your decision making. Fuck. You'll never figure out the problem. So when people say hindsight is 2020 and they fuck with a narcissist, you knew there was a narcissist before they started fucking with you. That's why when it ends, motherfuckers love to say the same shit. I knew I shouldn't have been fucking with you. How did you know? How did you know? The problem was the asset became a liability to you now because you fucking with my mental health. Because you're dealing with a person who's a competitor, but they don't know how to win. And this is what I was talking about in the So Frail 3 at the sphere of, I want to say, Netzach and the Tree of Life. That's the sphere of victory. Like, you have to go through some shit to learn how to win. Like people be thinking winning is just, and that's what makes the competition what it is. People think because they win that they're winners. No, you won. Can you do it again? Can you replicate the process? Mm-mm. Chances are you can't. You feel me? And that's when the fine line of the narcissism comes in because most narcissists, they can. And because they've done it so many times, you can't convince them that they can't. And that's what makes them narcissistic. Look at the actual definition of the word narcissist. I'm not even going to say it here. But it's going to fuck with you because it's like, wow, psychologically, they're saying that this is a bad thing. And psychologically, they're saying that humble is a good thing. because you got to pay attention to the world that you're in. Now, this goes back into the analysis and deconstruction of the resource. Niggas like, well, seeing how you know, I know which worlds I'm in all the time because I focus on the world. I go back into the world to see the source of how this shit was created. See, the problem with the world is that we don't understand that worlds are the agreements of men's thoughts, men and women, whatever, humans' thoughts. Worlds are the agreements of their thoughts, right? Everything that has a collective of thoughts has a world in it. And you have to understand that world. When people ask me why I left med school, why I can't go back to, I had to resource, bro. This is different. I was just talking the other day, and I was saying the reason why I always wanted to be a forensic pathologist. A lot of people don't know this. Some do. But the reason why I wanted to be a forensic pathologist was because I knew forensic pathology was the study of diseases. You feel me? You study corpses, you study death, like you study the body. My thing was, if I could figure out why they died, I can reverse it and figure out how to let them live. Then Eureka, the shit came out. I didn't even have to go to med school for that shit. I thought I did, and I was already in the motherfucker when the epiphany went off. Oh, all y'all niggas gotta do is eat plants? Okay, wait a minute. Can't be that serious. Can't be that simple. I was supposed to go into the system, deconstruct the shit, and oh, they created this shit. As I went back in, I started gaining my resources for anatomy. So learning the med school side and shit, and seeing what it was and shit. I took that same information and wrote Hitting the Raw. Now, the degree, the medicine degree, if I would have graduated and everything, that would have been an asset, right? That would have turned liability. And I'm gonna tell you when it would have turned. It would have turned in the pandemic because I would not have gotten the vaccine. And I would have not encouraged anybody to do the shit. But who's to say that I wouldn't have got it? Because in the frame of mind that I was in, if I would have completed, wow. If I would have completed med school, this scene would not be here right now. If I completed med school, there would be no So Frail series. There would be no Hitting the Raw. There would be no Mastering the Market or Inflate with Inflation. There would be no me. I'm sorry, I had to take a moment with that. I never sat. That's crazy when you really think about it. When you think about like where they rank people who are doctors and physicians and shit, you feel me? That wouldn't even scratch the surface of who I truly am. But that would have been an asset until it became a liability. And it became a liability during the pandemic. Hey, bro, for real though, at some point we gotta stop talking to women about masculinity and start talking to each other about it. And I mean really talk to each other. Not as enablers and co-signers, but as men trying to reach the pinnacle of our essence. And that's what the So Frail series does. So Frail 1 is the definition. So Frail 2 is the acknowledgement. And So Frail 3 is the resolution. If you're out with the So Frail conversations, I can guarantee you will rock with the So Frail series of books. So visit IamJustSeeing.com right now so you can add the series to your library. I promise you will never look at masculinity the same again, and you're going to stop wasting your time arguing with women about it. This is a conversation that men need to have between men, and it's time we start having this conversation now. So many people, I don't think we understand like how many people had to sacrifice some shit. Luckily, I was already out because I seen the game then. I said, I can't be a part of this. Let me just make sure I'm straight. So, and seeing that you had to pick a choice. Now imagine, if I would have finished med school, that means it would have been because I didn't learn anything about the human body correctly, the way in which I knew it. You see what I'm saying? Now, this is where it comes into resources and goes into accolades. Femininity develops for the accolades. You see what I mean? Masculinity deconstructs for the resource. A resource and an accolade, same thing in quality. You feel what I'm saying? But they taught us to focus more on building and receiving the accolade than actually having resources. That's what made all of this shit scary. Because when the pandemic hit, nobody had resources that they could fall on. I ain't gonna say nobody. A lot of people didn't have resources that they can fall on, and the only resources they had were their savings. And that really wasn't a resource, that was an asset. until it became a liability. You see what I'm saying? It was an asset when you didn't need it. Oh, I'm saving, I'm stacking paper. Hmm. Became a liability. Their job became a liability, job security, all of that shit became a liability. Just like that. Resources, that doesn't happen to. That happens when you're dealing with accolades. You feel what I'm saying? You know how much shit I wouldn't be able to say if I would have actually completed med school? You know how much shit I wouldn't have been able to do if I would have actually completed med school? There would be none of this right now. None of y'all would know me. Wow. Yo, this is crazy. I'm sorry. I gotta sit in this moment for a second because it's like I would not be known this way. And it makes me think of the line from Troy when Achilles' mama is talking to him. And he's asked her. That's what I love so much about this scene of the movie. Like he goes to his mom and he asks her, "Should I go fight?" This is so dope. He already knew. Like this was a conversation of a masculine breakdown and a feminine reconstitution. If you've ever watched that movie, he's asking her. He says, "Yo, should I go fight?" She knows him. She knows, yeah, you're the greatest warrior this world has seen so far. Like you that, I know you that because you my son. But because you my son, I gotta tell you things that you can't see because I can see you. So in Achilles being the warrior that he was, she's like, you have an option to make. And this is what I like about how synthesis of construction works. She broke down the source of who he was and gave him the path that he could have chose either way. So she said, you can fight this war. He said, you can decline this war. You feel me? And then you'll have kids, your kids that have kids, your kids that have kids. But after they're gone, eventually nobody will say your name anymore. She said, but if you go to this war, you will not have legacy. You will not have that continuation, but your name will be remembered forever. You have to decide what you want. I'm not saying I took that and said, I want to be here. I'm going to immortalize myself forever. That's why I left med school. Nah, it just kind of happened that way to where that degree would have been nothing but an asset. When we look at cars, we say cars are assets because they depreciate in value and you're paying on a month. It really doesn't have any value unless you keep it up. Means you can't go over 15,000 miles a year. You got to get all the routine maintenance and shit. You can't hit potholes. You can't actually drive a car really. You know what I'm saying? You got to make sure you keep the bitch parked so you can get the most for your buck when you got to turn it back in. Same shit happens with college that a lot of people don't talk about. If you went to college on a full ride, if you went to college free, cool. I'm all for you. I didn't go to college free. I'm not hating on you because you got to go to college free, but because I didn't go to college free, I had to find resources. You see what I'm saying? When you realize that you paying for the degree with the degree, that is nothing but a liability. When they showed me the numbers and how much it was going to take to pay back, and I started seeing how much I was going to make, and I can't pay that. I can't pay that. I seen it then. I just wasn't in a delusion. There's so many people encouraging our younger generation to go to college and shit because you'll get a good job that you can pay it back. No, they won't. No, they won't. Because again, this goes back into the resources that I have. This goes back into the understanding the sources of shit that I've broken down. When you look at how college tuition rates have increased, but then you compare that to entry level jobs, the curve is not the same. This is mathematics. Everybody, and this way, what pissed me off too, motherfucker, I didn't do good in math. You didn't do good in math, so you don't even want to look at a bell curve and look at a chart to see, yo, ass is getting scammed. Because you didn't want to pay attention to math. Because now you can't look at a chart and understand statistics and numbers. And it's simple shit. But again, you didn't get back to the source to resource it. So when getting back to the source and saying, hold up, from 1990, from the time I was born, until I was like 25 or some shit like that, entry-level job was $30,000. When I got moved up to my first corporate managerial position, I was making 40. Like, I was an assistant account manager. I was making 40. I was making 40, my nigga. That was 2017. I was 27. That was 2017. That's only $7,000 more than the entry level price of 33,000, which is only going up $3,000 in 25 years. But tuition rates nearly quadrupled since then. And they telling you to go to school, get a good education, and you'll get a good job. You know you won't, nigga. That's the mind fuck. But then the accolade, I got my degree. The accolade is what makes you feel good about the mountain of bullshit behind you. You feel what I'm saying? One of the things that people have always asked me, and it feels good to be able to answer with this question, when they say, well, you quit school, like, what did you like? It ain't about what you walk away from, it's what you walk away with, for one. And for two, I made sure that when I walked away, I was able to turn some shit into some resources. Now, mind you, I left med school in 2014. I didn't start entrepreneurship until 2016. But by then, one of my homies told me, he said, bro, you too smart to be broke. I didn't get it. I thought he was insulting me. He was like, nah, bro, I'm telling you, bro, you got way too. He's the first person that put me on the intellectual property because I didn't know yet you could get paid off it. You feel me? I always knew I was smart. I always knew I had a wealth of information, but I didn't know that I can get paid off of my shit. Because I'm never taught that. I'm taught to use my mind to make another motherfucker rich. Go to school, get this degree, and go get a job. Wow. What was the purpose of my life at that point? I'm gonna go 40 years for this shit? Fuck no. Fuck you and fuck them and fuck that. You feel me? All the way around. But it taught me, he was like, when he told me that, he's like, yo, bro, the way in which you break down health and nutrition and the herbs and all of that shit, he said, bro, why are you not selling a course on that shit? He said, bro, you can write a book, right? After he told me I could write a book and I can make some quick money right there, like, I wrote So Frail, and I'll be damned if he went wrong. And then it started from there. But again, I'm bringing this all back full circle. So Frail wouldn't be possible if I did not have the resources of masculinity. And I didn't get the resources until I decided to dive into the source. What is the source of the shit that I'm missing in life? Which is why this ultimately was So Frail Conversations over Entrepreneurs. But what is the ultimate thing that I'm missing in life? You feel what I'm saying? When it really hit me was when I was 17 years old. I remember y'all heard it in the 200th episode. But when I was 17 years old in that 200th episode, it hit me different because I was like, yo, this was a decision. And it got me because my thing was, when I was reflecting on it, I was like, I did not have enough resources to make a sound decision to avoid a situation. People can say, yo, you thinking with the wrong head, you thinking, it's not that. You just don't have the resources to make a sound decision. And that hits a lot different. Rather than saying this is the way men are. Again, why this is So Frail Conversations. Rather than, because I see it all the time. Motherfuckers will send me some shit about a pastor, and most of the times they're doing it, it's a pastor preaching to women. There's always a men talking to women saying, this is the way men are. Y'all have to adjust. What they are saying is that we don't have the resources to be better. So it's easier for me to tell you to act like a lady and think like a man than it is to tell the men to stop thinking like ladies and think better. Because niggas think like ladies. Like, for real, for real. Shit got weird, bro. I had this shorty, you feel me? And then she asked me, like, because I keep my nails clipped. I don't get like manicures and pedicures and shit. I just don't have dirty nails. I don't know how niggas get dirty nails. Like, I wash my fingernails and shit. Maybe it's because I learned how to do it right, but whatever. But she was like, yo, you get a manicure? No. Why? Men should have, no, they shouldn't. That's not, I don't give a fuck about the aesthetic that much to do it. You feel what I'm saying? But you got men getting manis and petties because they're starting to think like ladies because they don't know how to think like men. This is why the biggest theme of So Frail is tighten up, gods. It's a play on words, you know what I'm saying? Tighten up, as in get better. But then gods, you feel me? Because we had that moments calling ourselves gods and shit. Some of us still do. And then Titans created the gods. So be greater than the gods. Tighten up. And then we understand how I break it down. God is the highest conceptualization of the mind. So Titans create the highest conceptualization of the mind. Be the Titan. Get back to the source and create resources. The Titans created gods. Come on, let's look at the mythology of it all. Titans created gods. You see what I'm saying? It's all about creation at the end of the day. But when you don't know how to actually do that, because you don't know how to get back to the resource, it fucks with your entire reality. So you create a stagnant world that you don't think you can get better in. You feel what I'm saying? That's why it was so dangerous. Like, listen to Steve Harvey, listening to these pastors keep saying, women, you gonna find out he gonna be like this, he gonna be like this, rather than, hey, bruh, this is like, I ain't gonna hold you. I'm like probably one of the only motherfuckers that's like, yo, talking to us. There's a few others. I ain't even gonna lie. I seen them. I don't know their names, but I float them because I be locked in to my own shit. Low key, I understand why. I used to hate and I used to look at them side eye when Wayne used to be like, yo, I don't listen to other people's music. I was like, man, you a hater, bro. You just this and the third. Because he was creating his own music. But then now I get it. Mind you, I was like 18, 19 when I used to hear him say that shit. 16, 17, 18. That time block when I was like, bro, man, you gotta listen to other people's music, man. You got to. He was like, nah, I don't listen to their music. And then when you understand, when you get into that space, when you're like, I don't listen to other people's shit. I can't. I get why. I get it now. I don't listen to other people's shit. So when these guys are on these podcasts saying, look, ladies, this is them. This is basically what we've been saying for this whole time. We don't know how to verbalize it, is that we ain't got the resources to be better men. So this is what you got. That will start the healing process so well because it's true. If we can get out of the denial of it all and just really admit, yo, we don't have the resources to be better men. We didn't have the resources to be better men. What does it take to be a better man? If the man is the protector and provider, that means he has to have the resources to generate income no matter what. My number one primary source of income is my job. Whoa, whoa. I don't have the resource to be a better man. I am told not to be emotionally available, not to have emotions and everything until I get in my 20s and 30s and then now open up emotionally. Bitch, I ain't never had to practice. I don't have the resource to be a better man. You feel me? Because I don't know what the source of a man is. Because you ask what a man is today, a man gonna protect the. You know how many stupid motherfuckers I hear? I ain't gonna say stupid, I'm gonna say ignorant because again, they don't have the resource to make the sound decision, to make the change in their vernacular, what they're saying. When they say men are supposed to be polygamous because we have so much sperm. Nigga, you can only bust in one chick at a time. I don't care how good you think you are. I mean, you only busting in one at a time. You see what I'm saying? Or you busting on, like, you're not like, when we think about that, we act like semen comes out like pee. Like we just gotta piss on some chicks and shit, and it's like, yo, we can. No, that's the potency of the creation. When you get to the source, you can resource the shit. That's why I can look at it different. Because this is how I understand that we're supposed to be monogamous for the same principle. Because the fact that we shoot that much semen into a vagina, only one of the eggs, only one of the sperm cells make it. Do you know why only the sperm cells make it? A lot of people don't, because they don't have this resource. But I'm going to tell you, the reason why the other sperm cells don't make it because the vagina kills them off along the way. And I don't mean kill them off in a sense of, oh, He-Man, Woman Hater Club, reverse and shit. No. Of all of the quality, the human body is so dope, right? But the vagina has its own shit. This is why I be trying to tell y'all niggas, y'all can talk that shit, or y'all got a source. Y'all don't have the resource. Y'all can talk all that shit about them being real women and shit like that. The vagina has a unique built-in capability. Hey, yo, real shit. The vagina has a unique built-in capability to neutralize millions of sperm and only allow one to penetrate the egg. So we talk about the journey and shit, and you always talk about, ooh, men decide that you are who your father is. No, you're not. You are who the vagina decided out of your father would make it. The woman didn't even have to consciously think about this shit. You feel me? All that had to happen is the sperm had to fill the vagina, had to move and start moving towards the egg, which is the zone of pellucid, and she had to be ovulating or whatever the case may be. And then once that happens, only one sperm cell is allowed to penetrate. Not that, and if you actually looked at the microscopic view of it, all of the sperm cells are literally just around the egg, trying to break it down. None of them can do shit. One is allowed to pass through. It is allowed to pass through. So again, when we talk about the abundance of semen ain't because we're supposed to be polygamous. It's because the egg is choosy. It's choosy as fuck, and it's it's eliminating all defective sperm along the way. Yeah, the sperm that like the sperm cell that makes it is the healthiest. Sit with that. The sperm cell that makes it to the egg is the healthiest. Dog. Think about that. The vagina neutralized everything else that was a negative. All other shit that was defective and only allowed one. I ain't gonna say, well, it allows one to penetrate the egg, but I say it's a good 20 to 30 that circle the zona pellucida of the egg, but only one is still allowed to pass through. To go from billions in a single shot down to one being allowed to pass speaks volumes of how powerful the vagina is. But how clueless we are to what really fucking happens. Because now the child that we conceive is the best version of the semen that came of the sperm cells that came out of us. This is not a shot because I'm not trying to be disrespectful when I say this. I'm being completely objective here. If you have a child who has autism, special needs, or things like that, that is the best your semen can produce, and that is the best the egg can multiply into. So now when I tell people why I know anatomy and physiology so much, why I'm so big on nutrition and knowing what to put in your body the right way and making sure you got the right shit in your body, this is why. This is why. And I get it. Sometimes we can look at ourselves from an egotistic perspective. You know what I'm saying? If I look at myself and say, yo, I'm one of the best. I'm gonna say I'm one of the best because I got siblings. Well, no. I'm the best of the semen shot between my mom and my dad. I'm the best of that. My brother, he's the best of that. My sister, she's the best of that. For the time in which they were conceived, they were the best sperm cell to make it. You feel what I'm saying? Now, what happens when we develop children that have mental issues, that have autism, that have things like that? Sometimes we look at ourselves and we be like, yo, we think it's our genetics. Nah, it was the condition of our bodies. The condition of our bodies was degraded. And because they're degraded, now when both of the parties are degraded, now you have a bigger issue. You see what I'm saying? Like we look at people that have emotional issues, that have mental health issues, that have shit like that. Like it's y'all, like that's the best creation that could have been made out of that. So when men, I'm using that because now when men say they're polygamous because we have a lot of sperm, only one is viable. Only one works. So when people be like, yo, they can't conceive, they can't get pregnant, whoa, that's crazy. That means the vagina deemed none of these sperm cells effective enough to conceive. Wow. Wow. Not only from the men's perspective, but that means that when women can't get pregnant either, a lot of people be thinking, oh, this is your body might be fucked up, but it's even deeper too, because you also have to look at the full totality of the source. When a woman can't conceive, is she really fucked up? Or is her vagina just not finding any effective sperm within this man? I've seen people who could not conceive together leave relationships and make babies just like that. How? How? Because now we have to look at the relativity of the defective of the sperm cells. You see what I'm saying? Because it's like, yo, this is the quality of this is what I got. None of these are good enough to impregnate. So whatever. You see what I'm saying? This is deep. This is deep. So again, if we have polygamy because we got so much sperm, no, we got to put it in the context and get back to the actual sexual encounter. Even if you fucking 7, 8 chicks at one time, when you bust, that's it. You're not busting half in this one, pulling out, busting half in the next one, pulling out. I know there's only half, so it's done, but I'm being dramatic. You're not doing that. Therefore, you have to accept that you just like fucking multiple people. And it's cool, but say that. You see what I'm saying? Or you're trying to build a legacy, but if you ain't trying to, if you don't got resources, what the fuck you building a legacy for? You see what I'm saying? This is one of the reasons why when I tell people like, yo, When we go back, we not slaves no more, bro. So we don't have to do or believe in none of the shit that made us slaves. Y'all know that, right? But as long as you continue to exhibit that behavior, guess what? You feel me? So now, when people look at me and how I understand religion and shit, they don't understand the depths of analysis and deconstruction that went into that shit. Everybody that I have a conversation with when I come to religion, they always say, "Well, you just don't understand it." Then once we start talking, they say, "I can admit I haven't read the Bible like that." So you should have shut the fuck up. See, your arrogance, you feel me? Narcissism too. But your arrogance made you feel like, oh, because he doesn't believe, he just don't know. Or maybe it's because the motherfucker doesn't believe because he understands. And belief now is futile to him because he understands how this shit works. You feel me? But why? Because I made now. This is a resource to me. Now, your Bible, your Quran, your holy, whatever, they're assets to you as long as they have value for you. Then they become liabilities when they start fucking your life up. The problem is they fuck your life up far more than they help it, but you don't realize that it's fucking your life up because you can give credence to, oh, this is just the devil being busy. This is the cycles of life. No, if I told you that the cycles of life, if the cycles of life for you are universal, that means you plugged into a system. If you and a group of other motherfuckers are all plugged into the same cycles of life, going through the same shit, and this is just the way things go, you fucked up. You're not according to your own cycle. You feel me? You're not according to your own cycle of life. And that's scary, homie, when you really think about it. Because again, that's why you got to believe. But then when you get down to the point of analysis of deconstruction, now you turn shit into resources. Now you use them. As long as it's an asset, it can become a liability. And when you look to create assets just so you can have accolades, you going to go through some shit in life. You feel me? You got to learn how to reprogram your mind into, I'm not even going to say reprogram. You just have to learn how to use your mind. It's not even about programming, using it for this essence that it's supposed to be used. You synthesize and construct, we do that all the time, but because we don't analyze or deconstruct anything, we don't get down to the source. Therefore, we don't create a resource. You dig what I'm saying? When we look at what resources really are, so many people, like we look in today, it's a lot of men, it's a lot of old men right now. They want to retire, but they can't. And a lot of people think it's because, oh, if he stopped working, he done got nothing to do. He ain't got no resources. You spent your whole life building somebody else's resource. It's deeper than that. We got to stop looking at it just, oh, you funding somebody's dream. Nah, nigga, let's look at it for what the fuck it really is. You helping somebody's resource be built right now. And you have none. I'm not trying to shit on you. I'm not trying to play you. But this is one of the things that they wanted out of us when they integrated us. This is why Martin Luther King is always going to be a buster to me, bro. I don't give a fuck what nobody say. Like, you was the face of that shit, and he just so happened to be a doctor, which means what? Highest form of academia. You feel me? I'm gonna show you the symbolisms that they used Dr. King for. He was a beautiful example to shut everybody the fuck up. Martin Luther King was a doctor, right? He was a reverend, right? He was a member of Alpha Phi Alpha. You feel what I'm saying? The list goes on as far as prominent black men go. Like, when you look at in that time, prominent black men, he was a reverend, he was a doctor, and he was an alpha. He could have been a Q dog, he could have been a Cap or whatever. But I'm saying, like, Greek letter organization, high degrees, and being in the church, and not only being in the church, but being a reverend. That means you own, like, you hold it. Come on, bro. That's the symbolism. And then now you preaching nonviolence. Ain't no analysis and deconstruction in that shit, because you would have got to the source and say, these motherfuckers are just like that. You cannot be. Look, I'm gonna tell y'all something. Violence is your response to danger. A lot of people don't get that. When we young, I used to hear it all the time. Don't be violent. I was in a dangerous situation anytime I was ever violent. I grew up in the hood. I grew up in poverty. It was violent. I ain't gonna say it was violent. It was dangerous. Therefore, it was violent. People look at the violence and don't look at the violence is the effect. Nobody wants to address the cause. You feel what I'm saying? Why in the fuck are we fighting for civil rights in the first place? We're trying to be nonviolent with violent motherfuckers. Martin Luther King had the asset. You feel me? I just want oppression to stop. One day my kids will be able to come and Malcolm X said, We are nonviolent with those who are nonviolent with us. Fuck, we ain't violent people, but he understood that violence was the response to danger. As long as you don't put me in danger, you don't have to fear me. But when you start putting me in danger, now you got a problem. The problem is they didn't put it. They no longer had to put us in danger. They went from, oh, stop spraying us with water hose. Let us drink your shit and all of this shit. Like, you realize that the civil rights movement, the bulk of it was motherfuckers who just wanted oppression to stop. They didn't want to be free. And they were smart enough to make us fight for that rather than just letting us fight. Here's what I mean by that. When they seen the Haitian Revolution, they knew what can happen when black people decide to do what they're going to do. You feel what I'm saying? All we got to do is tap back in. But we can't without the proper sources and without the proper resources, which is designed for the men to go find. But then when you have men preaching, like this is where the mind fuckers coming in. A lot of people like, yo, where the real men at? Hey, when y'all motherfuckers want us to strive to be like Dr. Martin Luther King, and this is the image that we gotta see, this is all of that shit. This is what we become. The fuck? This is what I be getting on my nerves. Like women be like, I want a warrior, but you want to get them out of a church? You want a prayer warrior if somebody breaking your house. Okay. That works. You feel me? That don't make no sense. That don't make no sense. And it's never going to make sense because people don't understand the resource, bro. People don't understand the resource. So we strive to be the very thing that got us eradicated and can't figure out why we're still being eradicated because we don't go back to the source of what the fuck the problem was. Martin Luther King could have very well changed the entire scope of history by simply saying, we're not going to be nonviolent. Y'all have to stop being dangerous. Change the whole conversation right there. It's like, yo, we're going to be nonviolent when y'all stop being like, that would have been a whole conditional statement. We're nonviolent to show them that we're better. I'm going to be nonviolent when you show me you're not dangerous. Put the ball in their court. Let them know that everything I do is a response to you. You feel what I'm saying? That is the psychology of abusive relationship to say, it's not you. It's me. Just please stop hitting me. Whatever you need me to do, I'll do it for you. Just stop. And then now, because of civil rights, black people got the right to motherfucking be civil. Everybody else got their own quote unquote human rights off of that shit. And black people still ain't got shit. You know why? Because the men never found resources. All of the resources that we had, they blew up. They attacked. We didn't know how to protect them. Well, no, we did know how to protect them. They just had a bigger military. A lot of people don't talk about that, like Rosewood, the bombings and shit. Motherfuckers was catching bodies too. Like they didn't just beat us up. Like, come on, you got to really think about it. What was it? I want to say was it Tulsa, Oklahoma? That was the first time a bomb was dropped airborne. Look at the history, bro. We just think, oh, these people are dangerous. They're afraid. You feel me? I'm not giving them a pass for none of this shit. But what I'm saying is, how great do you have to want to be equal with somebody who feels that they have to bomb you because they're better than you, but you're prospering? Don't make no sense. But again, we don't get back to the sources to find these resources. So now all of our resources are gone. We have no businesses. See, when we looked at Dr. King and them and shit, you feel me? When they was doing the marches and shit, the bus boycotts, there was context there. Niggas just didn't stop working. They were working for their own people. So I was employed by the mechanic. I was employed by these other trade workers who had businesses, who actually could help fund this shit. A lot of the civil rights movement was funded by blue collar workers who get shitted on now. You feel me? This is what the encouragement was after integration. Go to school, go to college. We have no more trades. Your kids can't eat degrees. They can only eat resources. They cannot eat accolades. They cannot thrive on accolades. They can only thrive on resources. I know I pride myself on. I graduated with honors. I got Distinguished Leader of the Year award twice. Boom, boom, boom. I got all of the accolades. I got them. And I still want shit. I still had no essence on the inside because I had no motherfucking resources that I can say these are mine. And if times get hard, I can still thrive with these alone. When you lose your job, what you got? Push come to shove, I don't give a fuck about none of the other shit. I teach EWE and shit like that for that very reason. Before I learned that shit, one thing that was always in the back of my mind, getting fired. Before I became an entrepreneur, before I developed my resources, I'm not even gonna call them assets no more. I don't have assets. I have resources. You see what I'm saying? Because of what I can do with these. If the So Frail series ever stopped selling because motherfuckers realize, oh, I don't want to read this no more, it's too deep, whatever the case may be, I can still use the resource. The book ain't going nowhere. You feel what I'm saying? Because it's the resource of what I got that made me write the book in the first place. This is why you have the So Frail conversations off the podcast. I know everybody ain't gonna read, but everybody need that information. It's a resource. Masculinity is a resource for me now. You feel me? But when it comes to the EWE, right? Before I even started, I never forget. It was in 2015, 16-ish. When did I first have my first threat to lose a job? Hmm. I don't even remember. I don't think I've ever been fired before. Nah, I haven't been fired. Everything was always on my terms. But the sole fact that in the back of my mind, I could get fired. That's a scary feeling. You know how much you can no longer be yourself the moment you had that internalized within you. Because when you say if I lose this job, I lose everything. Now, what does that turn into? Whatever this job requires me to do, I have to do it, which means I have to lose my essence. I have to lose myself. I have to lose everything about myself to be fully compatible for this job because I don't have any resources. Having that lingering in the back of my mind at times, like, damn, if I get fired, I got to find another job. Rather than if I get fired right now, I got to turn my marketing up. Or, you know what I'm saying? If I get fired right now, I get more time to do my shit. What happens when we lose our jobs, bro? That's it. Your next quest is to say, damn, I know when I'm gonna get my last check. Now I gotta find and land a job before that happens because I gotta work the time, the week in the hole. I gotta do all of this other shit. It's time. It's time. But never once has it dawned like, yo, I could do this. So I was saying that to say that I did the EWE because of having that lingering feeling in the back of my mind. It's like, yo, this can't be life. You feel me? Money move every fucking day. This can't be life for what I'm living. So now, every one of my homies, anybody who has mastered EWE and shit, anybody who is in the EWE, mastering the market, whatever the case may be, you good. You good. You go to work with a different, if you go to work still, because a couple of my people walked away and they good. Like, you feel what I'm saying? And it's like, when you finally had that clip in the holster, it's like, talk shit. I don't give a fuck, bitch. When motherfuckers be on some shit like, yo, nigga, you can lose. All right, you late again. Look, I remember when I used to live in Philly, when I used to be late to work and shit. This is one of the reasons why I was glad that I became an account manager because I could set my own schedule. But when I used to be late to work and shit, motherfuckers be like, "Why you late?" Because I was writing something. Why you late? Because I was building something. Why you late? Because I was doing this. Everything that I was doing was because of the resources that I was developing, right? But as I developed more resources and shit, I became a threat. Like, once motherfuckers realized that I had resources, I learned the value of resources by internalizing how other people viewed my assets. You know you have you have a solid resource when it remains unchangeable, but it can be viewed as a threat and it can affect your livelihood. You see what I mean? And I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna try to start wrapping it up. I knew So Frail was a resource when it almost cost me my job because somebody wanted to read it. Crazy story, right? The dude was homosexual and they were trans, and they decided to read So Frail. Hey, I'm a sell the book. I don't give a fuck. I'm not gonna tell you. You feel me? He reading in the shit like, yo, it's a good book. Me and my man is reading this shit. It's a good. You and your man reading it together. God damn, this is not gonna end well. You feel me? They're telling me the shit's getting good. I know the moment when the shit happened because I know my work. I know my work. So he's telling me, yeah, it's a real good read. I know when he got to the chapter that said, oh my goodness. I never forget it. I left the state. I came home for Christmas. Right, it was 2016 going into 2000. No, it was 2017 going into 2018. Right when my Saturn return was starting. So I go home. I get an email that pretty much said my entire staff was nowhere to be found. I was this, that, and the third. I was gone. I said, I put my time was in. I'm not even supposed to be here. And it's like, at that time, they were telling me, yeah, because it's cold out. I'm like, we understand it's cold, but y'all can't be human, yo. It was fucking snowing weather. And you want my staff to stand outside with no fucking heaters? They can stand under the heaters. Dude, the heaters are above their heads, my nigga, and it's freezing weather. It's not going to heat them up. But you're going to tell them, don't open this door because it's cold. So you want my niggas to stand outside in the cold, but you don't want the door open because you'll be cold. I said, fuck y'all, do what y'all got to do, bro. They sent the letter up. I had a meeting with the client. I had a meeting with, not my client, my supervisor and HR and shit. They were going to let me go, but they couldn't let me go because it would have been wrongful termination. It would have been wrongful termination. And this is how I hit their ass, right? I'm really going to wrap it up. So this is how I hit their ass. So when they called me on the phone or whatever the case may be, HR and then the director and everything, so after they talking, they were going to let me go right then. I'm going to tell you what turned everything around. So I was like, so this is, I said, so I get a failing site in September and I'm blamed for its failure in January. I said, just so we're clear, I said, so we're clear here. I'm on the chopping block because in September, I was given a failing site that had already been failing for the first 8 months. And I was supposed to flip it in 3 months, knowing that they were renovating the hotel. Some of the rooms were out and we couldn't park cars anyway. That's what you're telling me, right? Well, yeah, I know. Well, so then it got to where, well, we do have another position or whatever the case. I know you got another position because you rather give me another salary than take this shit to court because I'm gonna bust y'all motherfucking ass. I already told him. I got resources, bitch. Don't play with me. My resources extend beyond what I show you. I know games. I know how shit works. So when you try to come to me and say some shit like that and knowing that it's not my fault, and I said, oh, not only that, I apply. I said, so not only that, I get the failing site. And the site that I'm getting, the site that I get was from another person who got promoted to another site that he's making crash, which is the site that I applied for, that I used to work at, that I was good at, and they wanted me back. I ran that whole gamut down and they was like, well, yeah, so what we going all right, what we'll do is, well, I know what you do. And then they gave me another band. They demoted me and gave me another $1,000. This was one of the funniest situations ever because some of my team, there was like my old team, the haters and shit, it was like, yeah, he done got demoted and shit. I thought he was good. When I went to talk to him, because don't play me and talk behind my back. It was like, yo, because he's talking one way, then when I'm in his face and shit, he like, bro, man, I heard you got demoted. I said, I did, bro. I got demoted and they gave me an extra band, bro. I get less work and I got more money, nigga. I said, because they couldn't fuck with me because they knew what was about to happen. This would have been a bigger lawsuit because I would have added so much into the shit. I would have added so much into shit. I would have added hostile work environment. I would have added so much because this is documented. They sent the emails up that they wanted my team working in the snow. And every day I was out there with them. My team could validate that I was in the trenches with them. Y'all put me and my team in a hostile working environment because now this turns into a civil rights issue. This turns into something bigger. Do you want to play with scene, bro? I know I joke and I tell y'all I write my books and I tell y'all I play, but I'm a genius for real, for real. Not just a genius in the sense of the physical. In the basic aspect, I use my genius well. You feel me? I use my genius well so much so that I go find resources, my nigga. When I find the source of some shit, what is a wrongful termination? Not on a Charleston White shit. I ain't go in there and fuck up shit on purpose, but yeah, this is what it was. This is what it was. So when my track record says I'm this, but then now you're trying to let me go because of this and it's not my fault. Oh, we gonna bang it out. We gonna bang it out. But they didn't know what resources I had. They didn't know what resources I had, which is crazy. They got human resources on the thing, but they didn't know which resources I had. Shut everybody the fuck up. They gave me a promotion and they demoted me. They gave me a promotion. No, they gave me a demotion to a bigger site with more money. So I went from an account manager to an associate account manager, got $1,000 more, and I went up to a tier 4 site. So I went from a tier 2 to a tier 4. or tier one or some shit like that. That's another thing. A tier one site already doesn't generate much revenue, and then they don't have they don't have rooms because they're renovating. I said, y'all set me up. I said, y'all set me up, and then not only did y'all set me up, y'all played favoritisms because I went and applied for a very job that another person I was more qualified for. When I say when I went to this position, the general manager, the hotel, the front desk staff, everybody said, "Yo, you coming back? We need you over here, bro." They don't know what they doing. I went the very day he got hired. The next couple of days, I went over there and they was like, I went over there to help him because he was struggling. I get over there, they said, "We don't know why they didn't give it to you." I said, favoritism. And I mentioned all of that. So I'm like, yeah. And this site, I said, so you're telling me it's my fault, but then in this same time frame, that site is failing. The site that the very person declined that I took over, that y'all wanted me to fix in 3 months, that he broke in 9, he went and broke another site in 3 months again. So that year was all his disasters. And y'all gonna put it on me. I'm very observant and I document everything. I pay attention, homie. You know why? Because I got motherfucking resources, bitch. And don't forget to check out Cafe Clothing, formerly Just Scenes merch. Get all of your intricate designs crafted specifically for the melanated being to develop a positive imagery within self and to have a little bit of fun in the process. From the peace, love, knowledge, and freedom to the dead horses and water designs, all the styles are crafted for the imagery to make you feel as you're supposed to feel. Because as I always say, the best way to fit in is to stand out. And what better way to stand out than with your exclusive styles from Cafe Clothing. I'm gonna go ahead and end it there. I don't know why I said bitch like that, but that's resources, man. I wanted to talk about this episode because I had that epiphany, like, and then bringing it full circle with the Spotify thing was like, yo, I got resources, bro. I was just sitting back and realizing I sponsor my own shit. Now I can put my own music in my shit. So the reason why I was setting that up because I was setting up my other shit for my copyright so I can stream it because I'm gonna put my music everywhere. And now when I make my reels and shit on Instagram, I'm gonna put my own shit in there. Like I'm gonna like, and there's gonna be an actual song, and I'm gonna get paid for it when I put my damn songs in here. So what y'all are gonna start to see coming up soon is where once the ads were, you're gonna get music now. You're gonna get music in it, and you're gonna get my music. Y'all will get the first dibs and shit. So like any new song I'm working on, y'all will get a hook. Y'all will get something from me that's new. It's like y'all will get the exclusive. Then once I drop it, I blast it to my music and shit. Now I can get my streaming working and all this shit. Like, and now everything is in synergistic motion, but it's all tied to the resources that I develop. It's all tied to the resources. I'm showing you the significance of your resources. Your resources are not your assets. Your resources are the assets that you understand. For example, a car is an asset until you use it for business. Then it becomes a resource. You see what I'm saying? Now you can Uber. Now you can Uber Eats. You can DoorDash. You can do so many. Not only that. Once you do that, now you can write off your gas. Now you can write off your food expenses. You can start to get to the point where if you are Ubering and Lyfting full time, you can write all of that shit off. You dig what I mean? But that's a resource. Again, that's a resource. That's something that I got. I still got my Lyft and Uber shit active. I can always go back. It's a resource. I got it. Chilling with it. Push comes to shove, I can do that. You see what I'm saying? Simple. But we got to learn how to do that shit again. You feel me? We have to learn how to get to the origins of shit, find the source of it, and then resource it to make it work for us how we need it to work. This is what intellectual property is. This is what it means to actually be intelligent. They teach us to study shit and to get accolades for good grades and shit. Every motherfucker that I know that was good in school was bad in school. Here's what I mean by that. Everybody that got good, they got A's and shit, they don't know how to critically think now. The slow motherfuckers who didn't get it, that we thought was slow, that we laughed at, that get degree, these motherfuckers are some of the most analytical people you'll ever meet. The reason why they didn't get it the first time because they just didn't conform. Shit didn't make sense to them. They needed a little bit more time to sit with. There's shit that's finally made sense to me that I learned 5 years ago. How much more are you in the classroom and you think you ain't gonna learn it? You gonna learn it in a week or a day? Come on, bro, sis, all y'all. This shit crazy. That shit crazy as hell. But you need your resources. I'm gonna keep coming back to that point. You need your motherfucking resources, right? And your resources aren't gonna come from you receiving what another motherfucker told you. The powers that be are not gonna pay you enough to be their neighbors. But they're not gonna stop you from becoming their neighbors if you have enough resources to become their neighbor. Dopest reality in which that made sense to me was when I was watching Madam C.J. Walker's story. When she decided she was gonna move beside Rockefeller. Now, for her, it was, I'm going to show the affluence. Rockefeller, I'm getting away from you motherfuckers. I don't know. I don't need this. Y'all don't, I'm employing y'all. Y'all don't need access to me no more. Right? When she asked him, she's like, yo, how do you handle unruly employees? She's like, I fire them and hire some more. The fuck? What are you complaining over? You feel me? As she was breaking that down, it's like, when she approached, now, the motherfucker could be racist, the motherfucker could be whatever. The movie depicts it how it depicts it. But in the movie, he talked to her. Because at that point, it was like, you're one of us now. You're here. You have resources. You have a resource that the world needs. You feel me? I want to say it's Rockefeller. Or is it the other one? Is Rockefeller the one that owned oil? That's the one who was fucking with the oil? Right? Was it Rockefeller? Who are the names? It's Rockefeller, Morgan, Carnegie, Rothschild. Nah, it's not the Rothschild. Rothschild is older than that. Way older than that. But Rothschilds, I think it is the Rockefellers that got oil. They got the oil, whatever the case may be. When he seen the source that was oil, why do you think cars became what they were? And why do you think cars never switched to electric until now? They could have stopped being gas vehicles a long fucking time ago. But Rockefeller seen something bigger. Y'all need my oil. So look, make cars, I sell y'all my oil. The oil I own. You see what I'm saying? I sell that. And if he didn't do oil, stick with his name because it's still gonna make sense. Now, the resource is the oil. Now, what can I do with these resources? We can make fuel for trains, make fuel for cars, airplanes. Fucking when the Wright brothers was doing the fucking flight, let's put an engine in that bitch. Fuck that, we can fly. Y'all got this bitch off the ground. Let's put an engine in that bitch. How? Now I got jet fuel. Now I got these different things. I resourced my source. That's what it is to be a resource. So no matter what it is, now I build industries off my resource. Then I could build a stock market. But I build industries off my resource. You dig what I'm saying? That's crazy. But this is why after, like, you're not fucking up their rhythm, bro. Because you got to think about how much is involved with their rhythms. You feel me? I'm in business because I convinced motherfuckers to go into business to create cars. Henry Ford didn't even create the car. There was a black man that actually created the car. Henry Ford is responsible for the assembly line, which is the 8-hour work week. This shit crazy, bro. This shit crazy. But they use all of this shit to see what it takes to be automated. And now they automated the shit. That's why you're going to have a useless class in 27 years. The useless class is going to be made up of motherfuckers who have no resources. Know that. Please, with everything in you, know that the useless class will be the class of people who have no resources. As a man, I don't give a fuck what your lady do or whatever the case may be. As a man, it is your responsibility to analyze and deconstruct the world in such a way that you have resources for every decade of life. I know I just became an entrepreneur in 2015, so the resources for every decade of life. You feel me? So far, I'm only 3 decades in the game and I got 5 resources. But the purpose that I'm saying with that is that when you're creating these resources, they need to be created within a moment of time. You feel what I'm saying? That will last. You feel me? When I created So Frail, it was at a time when everybody was talking about masculinity. So Frail's here forever. Masculinity is always going to be a conversation. That's a resource now. And to the capacity in which I took masculinity, it's a resource. Mastering the market and play with inflation, the stock market ain't going no motherfucking where. And this is what I meant when I said, this is check. This is checkmate. When it comes to white supremacy or whatever supremacy, I beat them. I beat the game. I beat the game. And it sounds so weird to say that, like, not for me to hear it, but like to say that, like when people hear it, they be like, what you mean you beat the game? I beat the game. This is the top of the game. This is what all of the systems are for, to play Monopoly. Literally. All these systems are to play Monopoly in Forex. That's the level 4 market participants. I've been telling y'all about this the whole time because I found the resource. Y'all created all of these systems so y'all can play with y'all money? Assholes. When you really think about it, Aussie CAD, yen, wait, hold on, what is it? Aussie CAD, Swiss franc, euro, yen, pound, New Zealand, and US dollar. Those are the major 8 currencies of the world, bro. And these motherfuckers don't do nothing but play with their money, bro. It's like, oh, Aussie, you're going down today? Yep. US dollar, you strong today? Okay, help the Aussie go down. Got you. Pum. Now, when I be telling motherfuckers like, yo, I correlate and I know what the economy is doing. There's no way you can have all the data of the economy. You're right. I can't have all the data, but I know that there's a motherfucker with all the data who put all of the information in a single candle and told me that this is what they came up with. So I'm going to watch that shit and I'm going to listen to that motherfucker. But when you set up those resources, they can't be taken from you. You see what I'm saying? One of the biggest resources that you can ever have, and the only resource that you can have, is your intellectual property. You have to, one, learn how to analyze and deconstruct the world, and analyze and deconstruct in the world that is beneficial for you. Because your decisions in the world that you create is all off of your decisions and your choices and shit. That's it. And your decisions and your choices are based off of the resources you have at your disposal to execute certain circumstances, certain situations. Opportunities don't present themselves. They're always there. You just happen to pop up. You just happen to do the string of decisions to get you to the right opportunity. But are you ready for the opportunity when you meet it? Most motherfuckers ain't, because they don't prepare for opportunities. They don't prepare for opportunities under the premise that these opportunities because of my decision making. We really believe that all of this shit just happens on accident. No, your divine guidance is positive decision making skills. The devil being busy is your negative decision making skills. When you're balanced, you're walking a confused life of being indecisive. That's why you don't know when it's the God or the devil, because you're indecisive in your shit. But when you become decisive and you start making solid decisions and you start making positive decisions, you realize that every opportunity that ever came to your life, you brought it there. You moved towards it. It was something that you did. It's a string of events that happened that you did. You see what I'm saying? For example, I'm going to say this and I'm going to really wrap it up. To be able to put in a position where I can start doing my music now and now leverage. So the thing about the music, I just seen this post from Akon, but it's something that I've been coming to terms with. Like, it's a music business. You know, when I first started this shit, when I was like 15, well, I started rapping when I was 12. When I actually started putting my shit on recordings and shit, I was 17. But when I started writing and rapping, I was 15 years old, like putting it down, going over a beat, jacking beats and shit. I was recording on the tape, bro. That's how, you feel me? I was in a transition to CDs and shit, but I was recording on the tape. That's what it was. I literally had a demo tape. Hardest shit ever, because I had my computer playing my computer playing one sound, then I'm plugging it up to my stereo, and I got a microphone plugged to my stereo. But what I'm saying is this. I'm in the age now. Now, mind you, I've always been a freestyle artist. I've always been a person. I can write a song. A hook is easy. Those shits bore me, because 16 bars, 16 bars, 16 bars, 3 hooks. You feel me? You write 52 bars and you got a song. I don't like limitations like that. It's so easy. You feel me? You give me 3 16s and an 8-bar hook, and that's it. 52, 54 bars, or a 4-bar hook that I repeat. You see what I'm saying? The system has always been easy. So I always knew the structure. I always knew it. I always knew how to make beats. I always knew that. And I practiced over the years. But I could never get into it because I didn't have the essence. I didn't know business. That's the only reason why I knew there was something missing. I said, when I get in this motherfucker, they're not going to stake me over no deal, because that's what was happening. Motherfuckers telling me, yo, you can get this deal. You can get this deal. That was all trying to put me with 360s, and I didn't know the game. But I knew that the deal that they was offering me couldn't have been good. You feel what I'm saying? So I'm looking at it like that. So I was like, what's the business? In a roundabout way, I learned business another way. I learned the marketing. I learned the branding. I learned the marketing. I learned the advertising. Now I learned how to use music as a business. You feel me? So now when I do my music, it's solely for business. If you heard the jam sessions, if you heard my most recent ones, especially, like all my jam sessions going forward are me having my website in them. right? I'm gonna say this, and this is how the resources are gonna work, and we'll bring this full circle, right? Now the music is the ice, is the cherry on the top for my branding. The branding I understand is the firm belief of making people see its logos, its imagery, its symbolisms, it's all of these things. I got all of that, the aesthetics and all of that shit, right? The marketing is making people believe in what you do. You see what I'm saying? The only thing that I'm selling, if y'all ever really paid attention to it, I'm selling my intel. I'm selling analysis and deconstruction, but I'm selling my intelligence. I'm selling analysis and deconstruction, whether people know it or not. So Frail was the first bit of analysis and deconstruction that I sold. Hitting it raw was the next because I'm breaking down shit. Mastering the market, the next. Everything that you see me selling y'all and giving y'all and putting out there on the market is analysis and deconstruction. Now, when I do my jam sessions and shit, and I'm just rapping, and I'm storytelling, I'm talking about concepts people don't understand. It's like, yo, he's broken down a lot of the brand makes sense. Peace of knowledge and freedom. It's all Pala Cafe. You feel me? It's all Pala Cafe. So to start the cycle there, you feel what I'm saying? The inertia, learning what masculinity was, understanding health, nutrition, anatomy, physiology, the body. Like it's crazy because the way in which the years of study of science that I learned to condense into a 70-page ebook is different. You feel what I'm saying? Mastering the market. Same shit. I went into the archives to find it. You feel me? These are all building the inertia moments. The Pilot Cafe clothing. Originally, it was just merch. I'm just putting a design on some shit, but then I actually took it serious as clothing. I created the storefront. I created everything else that was necessary. Now it's like, this is the brand to, like, before it was just my thoughts. Now it's like, I have a reason to do Pilot Cafe now. I have a reason to put an Ibis bird on the shit because the Ibis bird represents knowledge. Everything is strategically done, y'all. Y'all just haven't seen it because I was building it because I wanted to flush at one time, right? So now, in addition to that, I have slogans within these many worlds and many brands. And now what I have to do is this, because you're about to see another transition because I'm in this next phase to do it now. You're going to see my jam sessions, right? My jam session is going to have 4 brands. Because I think, the podcast is already in the back. So it's going to have the 4 brand images in the podcast. In the jam session, right? Only in the jam session, I'm showing you what the fuck I do. But in the jam session, I'm going to say iamjustsing.com. It's my website. You feel me? Depending on how I'm feeling, I might say more than once, right? That is going to now this is all based on resource. That is now going to segue into traffic from that perspective, right? In between, which is something that you're going to be seeing going forward, you'll see each one of my 5 brands, Polycopy, clothing, whatever the case may be, down the middle of my page. Because that's where people's eyes fall. Feel me? But I wanted enough momentum that on the right side, you see the post of me and the microphone to let you know I do music. You have Just Seen Podcast. I also do a podcast. You have half a pot of coffee on the back. Reason why I do that is for dramatic effect. The coffee is like, what's the rest of that? You feel me? Now when you see the hat, because I'm doing the jam session, it has Pala Cafe on it. When you see the shirt, it has Pala Cafe on it. Or when you see the Ibis bird on the chest, or when you see the Ibis bird on the head, it's branding them. Now I have a mascot to go with Pala Cafe. You dig what I'm saying? So now the jam session goes down to there. Now it feeds into the brand, right? That's the social media part that feeds into the brand. Now the marketing is the belief of, oh, bam, he is really intelligent. He analyzes deconstruction. Analyzes and deconstructs a lot of the world. A lot of people have asked me that. They're like, yo, how do you know so much? I don't know shit. Just analyze and deconstruct the shit. When you analyze and deconstruct enough, you don't have to know. You just understand it and it sticks there. I can now use my mental capacity for other shit and not memory. You see what I'm saying? So analyze and deconstruct all of that shit. Now you go into the marketing. You know what I'm saying? Now the advertising is, how do you advertise being intelligent? How do you analyze? How do you advertise what you've analyzed and deconstructed? Now you have to have good copy. You have to have good content. You have to have a good systematic flow. But I can skip that because I'm already branding 2 particular points: my jam session videos and just the background of my where I would do my jam sessions at. I'm letting you see me there and see me not there. Duality. You feel me? But you're seeing those. So now when my ads run, they are templated off of one of those posts. So when you see it, you'll initially assume, hey, This is something I already saw. Oh no, now from the jam session where you saw the logos, you're going to see the individual logo specifically for that in the ad. From the ad, boom, it's going to run you. Now, once you click the link in the ad, now what you're going to go into is the audience pool. And then from the audience pool, you go now. And now, everything now systematically is now a resource. My marketing skills, my advertising, my branding, these are all resources. And now I put all of these resources together to create the Paula Cafe brand. Did it take a long time? Hell the fuck yeah, but it's a resource now, and it's a resource I don't have to worry about no more. All I have to do is make sure I can sell shit. You feel me? Make sure I can sell shit. People like rappers. People like people that endorse shit. People like, you know what I'm saying? These are things that I wanted to make sure I was 100% on point because I don't want no missteps. Oh, the quality on this could have been better. The quality on this, but a lot of the shit that y'all saw me do over the last years, which is crazy, because I'm really going to wrap it up with this. A lot of the stuff that y'all saw me do over the last years was accumulating resources. If I told you I haven't even got it started yet, that should be scary. Because I mean that. I haven't started yet. Everything was experimentation. That's what scared me. I was talking to somebody about it because I was like, yo, I did all of this shit without showing my face and I was still thriving. I did this shit without actually executing the plan because I was still building the plan. Now I have the plan in full motion. I was already doing that without the plan. Damn. That's when it gets scary because it's like each one of these things, the thing about this, because each one of these things was a resource, because each one of these things was a resource, I was able to move forward. It's like I said, starting with the Instagram page with the music and all of that shit, bringing it all the way down to the inertia that I overcome, then the rhythm, the ads and everything, the system, you hear me, the momentum, and now it's a system. It's a system so well polished, all I have to do is rap. I don't think people understand that. To go from knowing that your gift, knowing that you have a skill, knowing that this is your gift. This is another. Damn, I keep wanting to say I'm gonna wrap it up. This is another thing about the gifts. I'm really gonna wrap it up here. Sometimes you gotta know how to use your gift. Some of us are gifted and don't know how we can use it. But not only that, we don't know that we can use it however we want to. So this was something that I was in my head about. Like for a long time, I was like, yo, if I start rapping now, bro, you just the old head. And you past 30, bro. You can't just be. But I had to remember, I'm not trying to get a record deal. I'm trying to sell my shit. If that, you know what I'm saying? And now I don't need the record deal. I don't need all of that shit because I know how to brand myself. I know how to distribute my shit I know how to do everything myself. There's no middleman for me no more. You feel what I'm saying? And being that there's no middleman for me is because there's all resources. I go to the middleman and find out how they're the middleman, and then I become the resource in that. I'm the plug. I'm a lot of plugs. You know how many people just hit me up just to see some information? Yo, where can I find this at? I knew you would know. How the fuck you know I would know? Cuz, nigga, if anybody was going to know, it's going to be you. You feel what I'm saying? Because I pride myself on knowing shit, not for whatever, but because it's analysis and deconstruction, all sticking into the brand. All sticking into the brand. And it's going to stay in the brand. And it's the thing about the brand is like, there's so many that people get blinded by the sub brands. And again, this is why I mentioned the Rockefeller thing and all the oil and all of these other things. Like everything is analysis and deconstruction, but now you don't even know that my brand is actually analysis and deconstruction. You think it's so Frail, or you think it's the podcast, or you think it's Hitting It Raw. And that's why when you see all of them, it fucks with you because it's like, huh? I thought you was just talking. I do all of it. All of it. And then the final piece is that now on my page, I don't know if y'all remember when I first started, but now on my page, it's now just seen, nothing less, always more. I took all of that shit off because I was like, I gotta have it flowing so niggas can really see that it's nothing less and always more. Now this shit, I just gotta rap. Because that's all I want to do is rap. And now I don't have to worry about, oh, I gotta make this song. Oh, I gotta try to get this deal. Oh, I gotta get my music in front of this person. You don't even have to listen to the whole motherfucker. All I need you to do is watch it a little bit to see my brands, and that's it. Because now you in the audience pool once you interacted with my page, and now that you've seen the brand emblems, when you seen those emblems there, now I got you. Because you just see me rapping and you don't even know what the fuck I'm talking about. You just see images, and then now you understand what those images mean. It's called planting seeds, it's called nurturing an audience, called all of that shit, but it's adapting. And it's developing your resources. So for real, I'm gonna go ahead and end it there. Go kiss your babies. And our sons, teach them the value of developing resources early. Assets and liabilities are cool, but when they become a resource, or when they know what resources are, that's when they become the indisposable reality. I'm the person. This is how much of a resource I become in my family. I don't follow religion. I don't believe in deities. I understand them, and they know that, right? Most of my family is heavily religious, right? But when push comes to shove, I'm still the motherfucker they come to. Whatever deity they serve, whatever the case may be, when push comes to shove, they don't pray no more. They come to me. When the pandemic hit, niggas won't praying no more. They was asking me what herbs they should be taking. They was asking me how to keep their lungs clear. They was asking me the right shit to. You feel me? They wasn't praying and hoping that the shit stopped. They knew what a resource was. That's the power of a resource, and that I want you to pass on to your babies. Good, bad, or ugly, it don't change. You feel what I'm saying? Whether motherfuckers, whether people believe my ideology, whether follow they can't refute my information. They can't refute what I've done. You may not agree with it, but it transcends the good or evil that we even look at. It's this is what it is, and this can help. You feel me? I caught the flack one time. Somebody, I kind of flipped on them. It was like, they called me a devil because it was like, even the devil knows the word, or the Lord will, prepare a feast in front of your enemies or some shit. Basically, they called me a devil and called me the enemy. I said, wow, okay, but you gonna need me though. And then my full circle moment, same motherfucker needed my resource. Oh, ain't you the motherfucker that said like there's like you feel me? You can't have it both ways, but you can. And we got to make sure our boys know what resources are and how to develop themselves in the resources, because that's when they start to get their respect, and that's what they become indisposable for. When they understand what their resources are, that's when they can start to understand the extensions of the person that they are, or the people that they are. And they can develop that and build that and grow correctly. You dig what I mean? We got to make sure that our boys understand what resources are. Not just assets, and damn sure not liabilities, man. We got too many motherfuckers just blowing money in the strip club. We got too many motherfuckers not investing, not like teach them resources. You know when it's a resource, when no matter what happens, it cannot be taken from them, it cannot be moved. Tying back to the VCR, tying it back to the tape. We don't make tapes no more. The motherfucker who invented the tape thought he was on to something. The motherfucker who came out with the CD thought they were on to something. Now we stream. Now we stream. Streaming service might think they on to something. Who knows? Who knows where music is gonna go now? I think streaming is here to stay for real, for real. Just because of the rapid rate of consumption and how much money you can make. Subscription based shit is perfect. That's what this next world is gonna be about. You feel me? But make sure our sons are equipped for this next world with the proper resources. Teach them how to understand the resource. Teach them how to analyze and deconstruct the world to develop a resource, an unbiased expression of something that they know to a T that they can use to continue their lineage. Last thing you want is for yourself to have the threat that the fear that you can lose your job or whatever the case may be and not be okay. But last thing you want is for your child to have to experience the exact same shit and have to repeat and clean up messes that they were not responsible for. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and end it there. Go kiss your babies, make sure they eat their vegetables, and I'm gonna see y'all all on the next one. Peace, love, knowledge, and freedom. I'm out.